I believe that I've said before that the spring garden is probably my favorite garden. This is the garden that follows a long cold winter, and I'm so looking forward to fresh vegetables from the garden. So I already showed you how to grow peas, and I'll cover that later in the video. Peas are something that I like to direct sow outside into the soil, as well as lettuce. And so what I'm going to show you here are some of the vegetables that I like to start indoors inside my house, and then I can move those out later. For quick reference, I always like to look at my square foot gardening book because there are some great charts in the back of the book to help new gardeners, and I still even refer to this book to get my seeds going. You won't have to look at this after several years of gardening, but it is always a good quick reference, like I said, and nothing is carved in stone, but the charts revolve around your last spring frost date. So I'll leave a link below the video if you'd like to check out your frost date in case you don't know it. And in here it will tell you how many weeks before that frost date you need to get your seeds going. Okay, so if you want to start them indoors, just look at your chart. One of the charts will actually break down what to start in early spring, and then in early spring, and then in late spring. So that's also another good chart to look at. And some of these will tell you what you should plant directly outside and what to start indoors. So what I'm going to do is just show you what I start indoors. A few of these I'll also start outdoors, but most of these I start indoors. One is cabbage. Now this is a Chinese Napa cabbage that I grew a couple of years in a row, and I really had a lot of fun growing this cabbage. You can check out that video by clicking on the box here, and it will take you to a new window where you can pause that video and then just come back and watch it later. Okay? So another vegetable I like to grow is called rapini, and I start that indoors as well. Swiss chard is a great leafy green for just about anyone to grow, and it grows well in a lot of different climates. I've grown it in Florida in the very hot sun of zone 8B, and also here in zone 6B where it stays pretty cold. So excellent leafy green there. I'm starting it a little bit earlier than I normally do this year. And then I'm also growing a broccoli this year called Early Dividend, and I grew that I think it was my very first year gardening. This is my son harvesting it, and so I'm fortunate that I kept a record, and I know the name of the broccoli that I grew that year, and it's called Early Dividend. So I'm hoping to have good results of that this year too. I've been growing another one called Pac-Man, and I haven't had a really good luck with it. So always try to keep a journal or write down the seeds that you're growing. You can always refer to those later, and you'll have a good record of it. So let's say you're growing some things in your garden. Feel free to head over to my channel where you can click on playlists, and I have a lot of playlists over there. So if, say, you're growing cabbage, you can click on cabbage, and you'll have about, hopefully, 4 to 5 different recipes to help walk you through how to use your cabbage. And that goes for many things that hopefully you'll be growing in your garden, carrots and herbs and different type of things, okay? And I'm currently putting together some videos to walk you through how to grow various vegetables, carrots, spinach, all different kind of things. Now, just on a side note, my how to grow videos, about 90% of them are going to walk you through how to plant the seed and how to harvest it and how to take it into your kitchen, how to store it, and how to use it in your recipes. So I just want to let you know that there's a lot of different kind of how to grow videos out there on YouTube. And just personally for me, if I am trying to learn a new skill, I always like to learn from someone who has done what they are teaching. So I'm not the kind of person that walks out with a transplant in my hand that I bought from the nursery and put it in the ground and then talk about it, because anybody can read information on the internet about what you're supposed to do, but I try to actually show you through years and years of footage how you can also grow something. So just keep that in mind when you're out there trying to learn a new skill. It's always good to learn from someone who actually does what they're teaching, okay? So I like to use what's called a Windowsill Greenhouse, and you can get these on Amazon. I'll try to look up some and leave some links in the below the video for you. My windowsill is 4 inches deep, so this fits perfect. If you have a smaller windowsill, it might not work out. I like to keep a little dome on top to keep the soil nice and moist until the seedlings can pop up. My windowsill stays pretty cold. I live in zone 6B, so my windowsill needs to be really around 65, 70 degrees to get these up. So I've recently started using a heating mat. I think last year I bought that, and I especially use it for peppers and tomatoes. You really need to use it for that. It just depends on where you live and how warm your windowsill is if you need to use something like this. So I just put it underneath my cells, and I'll leave a link for that as well underneath my video so that you can check that out on Amazon if you think you not needing to use it. So the next thing that I always use is a seed starting mix. It's nice, it's clean, and I never reuse my potting soil for starting my seeds. I used to do that, but I found that my results from using a seed starting mix are just so much better than reusing potting soil. So a nice small watering can, and then some mild fertilizer. I don't like to use anything too strong for my seedlings. You could probably dilute like Miracle Grow or something like that too to get your seedlings going. So that's just up to you. So let's go ahead and get started. This is my box here. So I'll put them in something that can contain any kind of loose seed starting mix. I'll just spread out the first one, and now go back and fill in the second part there. And now I can transfer these over to my sink where I'm going to water them in, and I'm going to do this about 3 times with just a small watering can. Just doing this alone will compress the soil. I don't physically press down on the soil at all. I just kind of like to try to mimic what would naturally happen in nature. So rainfall can kind of compress our soil a little bit, but it still leaves a little bit of, oxygen in there too. So I've always had wonderful results just doing it that way, but everybody does theirs differently, so you do however you want to do it, okay? I'm just showing you what I do, and now I'll just put little holes right down in the cells and give each one a seed, and then we'll gently cover it up on top, and then I'll need to go ahead and water it in again. And now I mark the front of my box with a number 1 or whatever number it is, and I'll put right and left on my boxes, and I make a little chart so that I can keep up with what I've planted in each row of cells. This is real important for me because I don't have a farm or anything, but I like to grow about 6 of each plant, and this helps me keep up with what I'm growing. Now I can place it in my window. So I just want to make a note about the heating mat too. The greenhouse boxes are very lightweight, okay, so if that little wire is hanging out and anything comes across and pulls on it, that greenhouse is going to tumble over right onto your floor, and there goes all of your work, especially if they've already sprouted and everything. So pets and small children, anything like that, you may want to try to secure this or put it in another window, but your window really needs to be sunny, so try to look for your sunniest window. For me, where I live, my sunniest window is the south-facing window. And I will gently mist them, although they don't really dry out much. I don't really need to do that much. And I will water them when they come up. Now these right here are my peppers from last year, but I just wanted to show you how I do it. Now when they start getting their true leaves, like what you see right there in the middle, that's when they start to need a little bit of fertilizer. They have plenty to get them going until they get their true leaves. So let that signal to you to start giving them some nutrition when they start to show their true leaves, okay? And so I'll put them back in, I uncover it, okay, and then I put them back in the windowsill, and then every day I will turn them around because you see how the leaves are turned and they're facing the sun. They're trying to catch that sunlight. So I turn them every day to keep them from getting too leggy, which means they'll try to stretch to get the sun. So just try to keep them turned. So once they've started to get their true leaves, this is when I like to try to move them outside so they can get full sun. Of course, you can always use grow lights. I think that this is a nice, easy way for someone who doesn't have grow lights just to kind of get started. But it is nice to have them underneath that sun. The plants love sun. They just really want that real light instead of the artificial light. So this is what I like to do. I like to go ahead and just move them out for a few hours each day, and I usually try to start them out in a shaded area, and you want to make sure it's not too cold outside, or if it's really hot, you may want to be careful. I don't move them out when it's windy because, again, they could blow over. If there are any pets in that area, they could knock over the greenhouse. So just keep that in mind as you are moving your plants outside, okay? And I just do that for several weeks. I might just do it 3 times a week, but until they're ready to go out. Now, your book will also show you how many weeks before your last spring frost date you can move out your plants into your garden. So I basically will just get a nice little area for my plants, and I'll put some compost in there and water it really good, and now I can transplant my little seedlings. And so this is a kaleette, and I grew this last year. I'll just go ahead and transplant it in there, and we'll water it in real good. And remember, in the springtime we usually have a lot of rain, and the temperatures are still pretty cool. And the one pest that loves those conditions is the slug or snail. They will devour your little seedlings. So I always try to put out a little bit of slug bait around my new seedlings, okay? Now this is last year when I actually harvested that little kaleette that I just put in the garden. So I'm still amazed to this day to start something from a little tiny seed and bring it to life. And so this is where I harvested it, and then I took it in the kitchen and cooked something beautiful with it. I call it a kaleette because it's a cross between a Brussels sprout and kale. A really pretty little plant, and sometimes you call them flower sprouts, but I think this one's supposed to be more productive. It's a really neat little plant, so I'll leave a link for you there if you'd like to check it out at the end of the video. Now these are 4 other videos here that I recommend for new gardeners. How to make a square foot garden. I did a complete video on that, and so you can check that out. I have last year's spring garden harvest, and then I have a pretty good video on what I like to plant in the spring garden. For instance, what I plant from seed directly into the garden, and what I start indoors, and why I do that where I live, because it all depends on where you live as to what you can grow, okay? And then of course just watering cans. I use different size watering cans at different stages of growth for my plants. So I'd like to invite you to head on over to my channel page, where you can follow me over there on Google+. I'm only on Google+ and YouTube. I'm not on Pinterest or Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that. So you can welcome to follow me over there. And thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a beautiful day.